Hi, welcome to Infusion Health, the podcast. I'm comedian Chris Patrick, a.k.a. self-proclaimed power man. I'm here with my co-host and significant other, Rach.
Hey, guys.
Now, today, as we know, next month, April is tax season. So I'm so excited to have my accountant, Eddy Thompson, who's calling from Hopkins, Minnesota. Eddy, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. So are there any new things or anything people need to know about new tax laws or anything this year?
There's always changing tax laws, but for the most part, they're relatively the same. However, with that new tax credit that everybody took with their child credit, it kind of got a little dicey.
A little dicey, you said?
Well, what happens is that if you take that child credit.
Okay, wait. Sorry to cut you off, but with the child credits came. People were getting the child credits, and that money was coming in. Were the taxes being taken out of that money, or do you got to file at the end of the year?
No, that's not what happened.
Okay.
What happens is that they were giving you a family child credit.
Okay.
For up to $3,000.
Okay.
That you were able to access. Now, in some instances, it was based on multiple children.
Okay.
So you got the credit, and you got the credit monthly. Now, you had the option of opting out of the credit, which most people didn't do. They just kind of took the money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now when tax time comes around, they're expecting the same type of refund. That's the following year. Well, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because they're using the money that you may have taken in advance of what that tax credit was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was gave you a monthly stipend of what that tax credit would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Let's say you no longer have that child that you can use for credit that following year.
Okay.
Well, you just took money that you weren't normally going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or you have an instance where you're sharing a child.
Yeah.
1 year, one parent gets to share it, the other parent gets to share it. That credit came out. That credit now counts against you versus the other parent.
Right.
Or in some instances, the other parent can't take it because you took that tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of these things don't come up, or you don't really know what happens until you try to file. And then you're sitting there waiting, why am I not getting a refund? Why am I getting stuck? Because the algorithm is trying to figure out what happens or how does that money get dispersed or how you get to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
then you're going to get a.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Then a lot of people get. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, that's the thing, because like I remember one time years ago I was working at this job, and they made some profit and they gave us all bonuses, and I looked at my check. I'm like, wait, we're getting taxed on that? And they're like, yeah, because it's considered income. So now with these child tax credits that came in, that's also added to your yearly income. Am I right or?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Mm-mm.
No, that's a sidebar. It's not considered income. However, if you took the credit and you're not capable of actually taking the credit, you now have to adjust when you file. Okay. So there's no income implication on it. What there is a implication of what it is you then owe. Okay. So if you took a credit that you didn't deserve, or that the government said you didn't deserve,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And you took payments that you weren't supposed to get,
yeah,
then you have to figure out how to deal with that in the backside.
Okay, so now it's March. Next month is tax time. I've gotten how many? So $3,000. How many child tax credit checks were there? 3 or?
No.
There were, I believe, 6.
Yeah.
6. So 6 times 3, 18. So that's $1,800 that you received. So now what do I do when it comes to filing?
You're going to get a letter in the mail that most people throw it away because they do that.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is, so they throw it instead of actually looking at it and saying, "Oh, I need that for my taxes."
Correct. So there's a 6419 letter. That letter tells you how much credit you actually took.
Mm-hmm.
There's a subsequent letter that you receive also that may tell you what your family tax credit function is.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a conjunction of those two letters, you file and play like that didn't exist. You're now putting yourself in jeopardy of being audited.
Okay. So you got that $1,800. The letter came in. People threw those away. So now the government's saying, well, hey, there's another $1,800 that you're not mentioning. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. So now you're not mentioning that $1,800. You go to file, and then you're like, okay, how come I didn't get this much money back as I usually got? Well, there's this $1,800 that you didn't tell us about that we gave you.
No, yeah, we're $1,800. We gave you. We're taking that back.
Yeah. Which comes onto the
So some people are expecting a refund, and they get a letter saying, "No, you okay?"
Yeah.
Yeah, because you owe that $1,800 back that we gave you. So we'll
that's what's happening.
Yep.
So like with some people, like I remember, when I collected unemployment, when I went to do taxes, I'm like, well, I don't really have to file taxes because I was unemployed half the year. That unemployment check
doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Unemployment is in your income.
Yeah, it's still considered income, right?
Yeah, totally.
Unemployment is income.
Income.
The way unemployment works is that your employer and your state actually pay into a fund to give you unemployment in the instance of you being unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people take the unemployment without taking the tax out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the year, you're going to get a 1099 for that unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not state that unemployment, you're now not stating income.
Okay.
And it's not like you're hiding anything because they know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it to you. They know how much they gave it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about
talk about business. Is there anything new or anything that people should definitely know about doing business taxes?
Well, in business tax setup, it's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it depends on how you're set up in your business. And a lot of people set up differently for business.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a personal business, you're okay.
Yeah.
If you're filing as an LLC and you're filing a business class tax, that should have been filed by March 15th. If you do not, you're paying a penalty for not filing by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, let's.
But most people that own business, I think, know that. If they don't, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, some people do things with their taxes, like especially as we're talking about business, like a small business. So some people say, okay, well, I have this small business. Me and the family are going on vacation to Disneyland or Universal Studios in LA, and I'm going to write the whole trip off as a business trip. And then all of a sudden, IRS comes knocking, and go, you can't do that,
Right?
because you weren't going there for business. This was a family trip.
If you are not doing something in the course of doing business, it is not a write-off.
Yeah.
The idea behind a business write-off is that whatever you're doing has to do with the course of you doing business.
Exactly.
You want to take the kids to Disney World? That's fine. That's got nothing to do with business.
Right.
If you want to try and say, well, I took them to Disney World and then I made some business calls. Yeah, no.
I'll make the business call here, and then I'll go on the ride.
But to our listeners out there were people who actually were trying to do that and were getting caught doing it. Like, no, you can't do that.
Right.
Many people were trying to do that.
Yeah.
Many people were trying to do that. There are many people that attempted to get a PPL loan because a grant because it was easy to do and when many people weren't paying attention.
Now, PPL loans. What's that? Personal.
Right, as a personal business, it was a personal business loan. The
Sure.
loans were based on the idea that your business needed to be able to function during the time of COVID.
Yeah, during the pandemic. Yep. Okay.
Well, so they took these loans that were relatively easy to get.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of oversight and there was two functions. There was a loan and there was a grant.
Mm-hmm.
The grant, you don't have to pay back. The loan, you have to pay back over time, just like.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were applying for both.
Mm-hmm.
The grants are the ones people are getting stuck on pretty heavy at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some companies that got grants in some very, very, very high numbers.
Yeah.
And they were very happy to get those, I would imagine, because some people went out and bought luxury vehicles and houses and all kinds of jewelry and such.
Yep.
And you got to pay that money back. It's a loan.
And often what they did was they boasted about it on the internet.
Oh, no.
Where's that? Austin, Texas?
Not Austin.
Often.
So
Often
not only
they
did
do
they
it.
get the money, but then they bragged about the money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going on social media and saying, look at what I got.
Okay, well, that's interesting because there was a case here. I forgot. There was a case here. I think I read about it last week. There's a restaurant in the Mall of America. I forgot what it's called, but anyways, they owed $680,000 for back rent, and they went to court, and the court sided with the mall because they were saying, well, hey, the mall was closed. The mall closed its doors during pandemic. We couldn't get business in there, so we couldn't function. So we didn't make the money. So we couldn't pay our rent. And they were trying to work something out. And the courts actually sided with the mall. And it was like, yeah. And I was like, $680,000 in back rent, and it was that Space Up. I think kitty corner there from Hooters or whatever. I forgot the name of the club.
Well, the thing is that with that restaurant and with all the restaurants during the deep of the pandemic when everything was shut down, all the restaurants had that problem. They still had to pay their rent. They still had to pay their mortgage. They had to pay their electricity and all this stuff so that everything in that building could stay functioning. And
that's what those, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eddy, and that's what those PP loans were for, to help you sustain during the pandemic, right?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm not familiar with that case. Mm-hmm. But that sounds like a proper situation. They may have they may not have shown that they characterized that well, and then somebody came behind them and said, "Hey, look, you got to prove that you actually used this for something." That possibly happened,
mm-hmm.
but I'm not familiar with the case. Mm-hmm. There are some cases of a few athletes out there who borrowed money who got money for their businesses and bought cars and this, that, and the other thing, and well, they've been called to the mat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so they got to pay that money back.
Yeah, and like they say, you can do that and you can play around with the money, but here's the thing, that like they always say, sometimes you got to pay the piper,
Well, in that instance, the piper is it's easily to track. Once you have the money, it's not that hard to figure out what you did with it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are like, well, government's interjecting in everything I do. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that no, you're not going to be able to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a question for you. A lot of these nurses are going into travel nursing positions now. Some of them are from house to house. Now, like 15 years ago, the way I watched my taxes with me traveling with the car from house to house was at first I was doing it with the gas receipts, but later on I found out that you need to mark your miles.
Correct.
Yep.
Got nothing to do with how much you spend, because you can go to the gas station and spend $90 and only have $20 in gas.
Yeah.
So, and I used to get clients that would give me that. And I'm like, going, no, you cannot write all this stuff.
Nope.
Yeah.
But it was in the course of doing business. Right? Eating those Cheetos is not necessarily.
Well, that's the thing too, because I started out in entertainment, and playing drums. And my brother, he's the one that hit me with all this, and he said, "Well, yeah, when you buy drumsticks, you can write those off, because it's part of the business, part of the band. We can write this off as a band, and drum heads and stage clothes and stuff like that. But now they're cracking down, like, okay, well, you bought this T-shirt and you say it's a stage clothes, but you're wearing it outside. You're wearing it. Are you using it specifically for work? Like you take somebody who in construction who has to have steel toe boots. Okay, you wear these steel toe boots when you're at work Monday through Friday, but you're also wearing them on the weekends too. So you may get popped for that. So
that one's a little offset. That there's a little strangeness involved in how that works.
Sure.
So in the instance of a safety device such as a steel toe boot, if you're using it for the majority of the time for work, there's not going to be an argument with that.
Yeah.
If you bought, a Van Halen T-shirt, and you wore it on one show, and then you wear it everywhere else, just because you give it to your girlfriend so she can wear it to bed. No, that doesn't work that way.
Well, I had
so it's a little different.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I remember when I was in real estate class, they were talking about the home office, writing off the home office, and our instructor told us an interesting story where a guy had a home office and he was writing off. The IRS guy comes in, looks at it, and looks at the office and says, where's these jackets come from? And I guess they had some people come visit them. There was no room in the closet, so, we'll just put them in the office. He looked at us, can't write that off, it's the home office.
Yeah.
The home office is a trap.
Yeah.
The home office, if you can actually prove that the home office does nothing but be used as an office, and it has to have 4 standing walls. It can't be a kitchen table. It's not a home office. Has to have 4 standing walls, and it has to be individualized from the rest of the house. Okay, great. Now, you got another issue involved. You can depreciate your home office separate from your house.
Okay.
That's fine. You go to sell your house, you actually have to show that depreciation, and you have to show you have to show the gain from the loss. From the sale of that home office use. Not to mention the fact it also changes how your homestead works. It changes how you can go and use a tax credit for the state.
Well, also the thing with the home office, like the computers, because I know a lot of people make money with computers nowadays, using the cameras or gaming and stuff like that. Can you still use that as the home office, or is it like? Because I know a lot of people make money playing games on the computer and all that. Can you write the computer off as part of are you using most of that for playing games to make money?
If you were using the computer as a money-making situation, technically you can write it off against a business, but I would not use it as part of a home office.
Sure.
And I say technically you can, because there's an instance where it asks you when you're deducting this, what's the percentage of use for business? If the percentage of use for business is 10%, that's what you got.
Yeah.
Okay. What about
Now that makes better sense, but most people when they're doing that, they get on systems like TurboTax and they just start throwing stuff in there, and it doesn't work that way.
So what about with in a few months school's going to be starting again come September. Some a parent spends $1,000 or $1,500 on school supplies. Can they write that off?
Not on the federal side.
Okay.
The state allows you to write a portion of that off. That is not a federal write-off.
Okay.
And are you keeping receipts during that time?
It would be a good idea.
Yeah.
For the most part, on the child side, if the child is going to a private school, then you can write off some of those things. If the child is not going to a private school, going to a public school, no.
Sure.
So if the child is going to a public school, you can't write off school supplies?
No, not on the federal.
Okay. But you can write a portion. You can write a portion of it off on the state side. On the state side.
Right.
Yeah, because like I was saying, like I started from entertainment, and I remember I used to have to go to North Dakota, South Dakota, to do shows back when I was doing stand up, and I kept track of my mileage and my gas receipts.
Well, not necessarily the gas receipts as much as the mileage is more important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can use a generalization on the actual cost.
Mm-hmm.
But you could do them both if you wanted to. But for the most part, the mileage is a better call to keep up with than the actual gas receipt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different technology now, different things that can be done. You could now keep track of that with an app. You can say, okay, I'm leaving out, and it starts tracking based on the time you leave, or you can just punch it in based on that app. This is my start time. This is my end time. That's when I start. That's where I end. So there are a lot of things a lot of paper that you don't actually have to carry around anymore that you used to.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some people, and let's talk about full time and part time. Some people have part-time jobs driving Uber. Some people drive Uber full time. They can still write off their mileage.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Uber is a pretty different situation, and you're going to get paid. I'm not sure whether Uber drivers have made it to a W-2 situation yet, but at one point, I haven't done an Uber driver for tax purposes, so I'm not sure if they get a W-2 or a 1099.
Mm-hmm.
You can write off the miles on it. You can depreciate the car. Because you can actually set it up as a side business. However, if Uber looks at you as a statutory employee, that may change what you can deduct and how you can deduct it.
Okay.
So as you said, statutory employee, what exactly is a statutory employee?
Statutory employee is kind of a middle point. It's kind of an employee, but it's kind of not.
Okay.
So independent contractor.
To make it simple, there's three simple classes of employees. There's an independent contractor, which means you're on your own, and I pay you money to do something, and after that you're on your own. There's a W-2 employee, which you're now employed by the company, and there are all of the things that an employer needs to do. They're going to do to maintain you as an employee. And then there's the middle point, which is a statutory employee, where some rules apply, some rules don't, and they're not always the same thing. Mm-hmm. So statutory employee is kind of an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. Well, aren't they? Isn't the federal government looking at Uber, going, okay, this is? Aren't they in discussion are they gonna treat them as employees or independent contractors? Is that still up in the air?
I don't know much about it. I haven't been following that, so I can't really comment on that.
I do have a question. With the few minutes that we have left, now talking about families, we have kids that are making their own wages. So how do they file taxes? Do we even bother filing their taxes? I mean, that's a question that I know a couple families have.
Yes, I would file taxes for them. Here's what happens. Unless they set up on the W-4, which is the filing that they set up for how many exemptions they can take, that they have an exorbitant amount of exemptions so that they don't take out any taxes, I would do it because they could get whatever money that they put in back, even though they're dependent.
Okay.
As long as they don't make more than 50% of the amount of money that they need to survive as an individual.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got that part-time job and you made $10,000 and they took out $800, $900, yeah, file it. It's $800, $900.
Mm-hmm.
But when you file it, you have to file saying that you are dependent of someone else.
Yeah.
If you file it independently, it could cause some friction.
Right.
Okay. Well, I used to work at the casino, and I would see people win $1,500, $2,000, and up. And then I think they said they have a choice. They can either take all the money now and file it later, or the casino takes their 20% out right away, right from the get go, and then do you got to file on that money after the casino already took its 20% out, or how do you do that? Because
they're going to send you something, send you a 1099G. They're going to send you a winning 1099.
But can I ask you a question though?
Sure.
If you do win at the casino, if you do win big at the casino, that is considered income, right?
It is. It's taxable income.
Yep, it is. So if you people go to casino, you went out there, just want you all to know that is taxable income.
All right, go ahead, Eddy. Finish.
Sorry, Eddy.
It's taxable income, and you may get a 1099 saying that you made money at the casino.
Yep.
You got to show that on your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
However, here's how this works. Here's how it can work in your favor to some extent. You can then go to the casino and they could show you all of your win. They could give you all of your win-loss if you are part of their card services.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll show you how much money you put in,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use that against how much money you won.
Okay.
Only up into the amount of money that you won.
Sure.
So unless you become a professional gambler, in which case you file as a professional gambler as a business.
Mm-hmm.
So independent contractor or business.
Not an independent contractor of sorts. I guess you could call it an independent contractor, but it really is. You are a business. Your business is I gamble.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see a lot of that instances with poker players.
Yeah.
I do one client who is a professional poker player. That's what he does. That's his job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in his instance, he gets to write off some really insane things because that's what he does while he's playing poker.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a masseuse that massages him while he plays.
Okay.
In this instance, it is deductible. It relaxes him to have 2 or 3 cocktails while he drinks. In this instance, it is deductible.
Wow.
It's a little different for everybody.
What about the plane trips What about the plane trips to Vegas?
It is deductible.
Okay.
Not only is the plane trip deductible, but the hotel stay and anything he does during a tournament or while he's playing.
Okay. Now, a
little bit different.
You said the hotel stay. What happens if he goes and he's a professional gambler? What happens if he's comped by the hotel?
It won't show his income because he's comped. There's no bill for it.
Okay, so he can't go, well, if I would have paid for it, it would have cost me this much and try to write it off.
No,
like
not
that.
would have. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's not about what you would have done.
And the thing with taxes is you have to have tangible proof.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it has to be an exact line with him. Everything has to be an exact line, and it has to be in complete order because I don't believe in customers having to go through audits, so I avoid them at all costs.
Right.
I don't go over certain lines that may take you there.
Mm-hmm.
If I do, my customers understand it. This is what you did. This is what we're doing. This is not on me. This is on you.
Right.
I'm advising against it because people are going to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always say this about taxes: if they could get El Capone, they can get you.
That was a whole different time, a whole different thing. But yeah, I do agree. And it would have been easier to get Al Capone now than it would have been then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, Eddy, this was a great conversation, man. We could go on forever, but definitely would love to have you back maybe next year during tax season again. Love talking about this. I hope my listeners out there learned some things. I learned some things that stuff you can do, especially with casino. As far as you can get a listing of all your loss.
I didn't get to finish that. Now,
okay.
On that casino thing, you can only if you're not a professional gambler, you can only write up to the amount of money that you actually gambled in.
Okay.
So let's say you lost $50,000, but you gambled 25.
Mm-hmm.
You can't show that additional 25 is a loss.
Mm-hmm.
You can only write off the amount of money that you actually lost. So you can write it off to zero.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, thanks a lot. Well, Eddie, if somebody wants to get in contact with you, you got a website or email or something?
Let me hit you up, and you'll find me.
Okay. I think, well, Rach, will you have his, is it okay if we have your email on?
Yep, I got his email, if that's okay, if we can list it.
Sure. Well, you can throw my email up. That'll be fine.
So if you got any questions for Eddie, just look at his email on the site and just email him and ask him some questions and take it from there. And I'll let Rach close us out.
All right, you guys. Once again, we're coming to an end. History is born on lines of hate. On here, we're trying to build lines of love and make you guys your best advocate, even in financial things. Thank you, Eddie, for coming. And for everybody that appreciates this, give a review. You can also reach out to us on Facebook, Infusion Health. You guys have a great week.
Thank you.